universe to challenge the worst villains on Earth are the most powerful heroes ever in the Battle of the Superpowers Collection. What's this? The dam's about to blow and take Robin with it? Who'll stop the Joker?
And welcome back to another Kenner Superpowers vintage figure price guide. Today we're going to look at a few figures, kind of what they're going for on the market, and what you might expect to pay for them if you're trying to complete your collection. Okay, let's start off first with a Mr. Miracle. This guy is not super rare, but to find him with his manacles and his cape is quite rare. So this person paid $190 for this complete and rather nice looking Mr. Miracle with his manacles and the cape. That's probably not that high. Again, something I would probably try and get lower. Always try and get lower if you can. But $190, probably around what you might think you were going to pay. So not a bad buy for that person who bought that. Next up, we have a great example of how you can easily start your collection for a minimal price. This is a Flash. Granted, it's not a perfect Flash. It's a little banged up, but $5, just $5, and then plus shipping, so a little over $10. This is obviously the most common figure. You'll find this figure nearly every vintage toy store or comic book store you're going to walk into. This guy is everywhere. But you can start off with him pretty cheap. So don't pay too much for him. $20 in really good condition is probably a fair price. So maybe near mint, maybe $30. But if you just kind of want him as a little bit of representation, start off at $5 and kind of work your way up on condition and whether or not his action feature works. Hawkman's another one that shouldn't be too hard to find for most. The tricky thing here is, again, the accessories. The wings aren't too hard to find. Those are pretty tough to lose. They're in varying conditions depending on what you get. But his mace is the thing that is typically gets lost. So you're probably going to pay a premium for that. But otherwise, Hawkman is around. You can definitely find him. So this person bought him for $21.70 plus shipping. So just under $30, which isn't too bad. That's about what I would expect to pay. Here's one of my favorite figures from the line, the Penguin character. This one sold for $49.95. That's pretty good considering it has the original umbrella, and it comes with a comic book. The tricky thing here is I'm not sure if this one came with coattails. It looks like it might not have, in which case maybe slight bit of an overpay. But I think in general, $50 is probably about where you're going to end up with this guy. Try and aim maybe around the $40 mark, depending on condition. But this guy, it's a fairly common figure, but finding that umbrella complete is getting trickier and trickier, so keep that in mind when searching for the Penguin. Okay, next up we have Aquaman, and these next three are going to kind of be a look at how different some of these figures sell depending on accessories and condition. So here we have, in fairly good condition, Aquaman. He has the trident, sold for $43. That's honestly a pretty good deal. I would probably expect to pay around $60-ish for it, maybe a little lower. But with the trident complete, action feature works, that's a pretty good deal. So now next up, we have a figure without the trident. In seemingly good condition, looks like he paid maybe just under $30 for this. So that's without the trident, $30-ish. Not bad. But this figure is, again, very common. So, if you can get him for around $20 without the trident, I would try and do that. You could then try and get the trident yourself. That's probably going to come at a premium, probably around $50 or, probably $40 or $50 for that trident. So now we have the figure again with the trident, but this is with the comic book. And it looks to be in close to mint condition. So depending on condition, I think, you are going to pay a premium. Should you be paying triple what the first guy paid? No, you should not be paying this much. This is I would say an overpay for this figure. Even though it's complete with the comic book, that still seems very high. You can find these comic books. Yes, they're a little rare, but $125 for that figure, definitely an overpay. Here's one that's fairly uncommon, Desaad, right? So the tricky thing here is the little aluminum pieces that are kind of coming out his sides, kind of the tubing there. Those are tough to find. They're not usually with this figure. For some reason, they easily fall off. My figure does not have those tubings, but I think I paid probably around $40 for him. So to have that representation at $40 isn't bad. $60 is a pretty good price. I don't see this figure come up a ton. I mean, it's certainly not rare as some of the other high-end figures, but to get him with the tubing is, I think, increasingly rare. So to pay $60 for this figure isn't too bad. So whoever got this guy, congratulations. Here's a rare one, the Golden Pharaoh. This was one of the ones that were made up by Kenner. Not insanely hard to find. He was from Series 3, about as hard to find as any of the other Series 3. But again, the problem here is, as with many of these vintage figures, and this is increasingly happening, you can't find the accessories. So I see this guy a fair amount pop up, usually around 100-ish. So to get his accessory and the figure for $120, as this person did in this auction, is pretty good. So I think, you're probably paying around 100, maybe 150 in that ballpark for Golden Pharaoh with his staff. Here's another Series 3. Tyre. I never really know how to say this guy's name, but either way, he went for, looks like maybe around 100. Best offer taken at 110, and honestly, that's pretty good. This guy's Series 3, and the projectile that comes out of his arm is tough to find. It's missing a lot. Obviously, it's a projectile, so that's a tough one. And this guy does not come up as much, so I'm surprised he's not a little bit more typically, but you'll see him selling for around 100, maybe 150. So to get him for under 110 with the projectile, I can't complain about that. So again, this is another pretty good deal. So if you want to pay something around there, I would recommend that. Shazam! Yeah, so this figure went for about $370 with the cape, original cape. It looks to be in very good condition. This is typically what they're going to be selling for. I would say at least over $300 for a complete Shazam. Why exactly? Is it more rare than Tyre or Tyr that I just talked about? I feel like it's probably not. But that's kind of where we are. I don't know why this figure is so popular or costs so much, but currently that's kind of where we are. So yeah, this figure has been consistently selling for in the 300s complete for some time. So if you're looking to complete your collection, this is probably the second highest price point figure you're going to pay. Next up, we have Plastic Man. This guy went for $155. That's probably around what that's market right now. This guy, I would love to have this guy in my collection. I haven't pulled the trigger on buying him. I've tried to get him for like around 100. You can get him a little cheaper. He's one of those guys who kind of varies in cost quite a bit. I've seen him go for as low as 90, maybe as high as 160, 170. I think it all depends again on condition. But again, a lot of times, maybe it's when the auction is happening, or, just a little bit of luck. So I would try and find him for a little bit cheaper than that. And here is one person who actually did get him a little cheaper. This guy went for $174 $147, free shipping. So that's not too bad. Again, I would try and get a little lower than that, maybe $125. I mean, anything, $190 would be a steal. If you consider paying $90 for an action figure a steal, and many of us do. Completists, beware, beware. You may want to look away. This Cyborg just sold. He's complete for more than $1,200. Ouch. So it's become tougher and tougher to find him complete with all three of his accessories. Two of them seen here. But to ask $1,200 or to have to pay $1,200 seems real tough sell in my mind. But this is where we are. So anyone looking to complete their collection, I think you're looking at least over $1,000 for Cyborg. So I think that just is going to have to require a lot of savings on any collector's part. And either you finish your collection without Cyborg, or you decide to save up and make that commitment. That's your choice. But again, that's where we are. I'd love to see those prices drop a little bit so you can complete your collection and my collection, frankly. So that's all I have for today. You're watching Toys We Remember. This was another vintage Superpowers price guide. I like doing these. I hope you like watching them. And we'll be back soon. Take care.